Mikel Arteta reveals new Declan Rice injury update after Arsenal selection shock. England midfielder was ruled out of key clash with Aston Villa in the Premier League. Mikel Arteta has revealed why Declan Rice was missing from Arsenal's matchday squad for their crunch clash with Aston Villa. The England midfielder was absent on Tuesday night as the Premier League leaders took on Unai Emery's third-placed villains at the Emirates Stadium, beating them 4-1. Rice was fielded in an unnatural position against Brighton in Arsenal's 2-1 home win on Saturday, playing at right back in the absence of both Jurrien Timber and Ben White. Reports earlier on Tuesday said that Rice had suffered a knock to his knee during the game against the Seagulls, but played through the pain barrier and had been hopeful of facing Villa. However, he was not involved at all, and asked about Rice's absence before the match, Arteta told Sky Sports, "Declan got a big kick in his knee during the match against Brighton, at the start of the match actually, and by the time he finished the match, he had a massive swell-up. The game against Villa was too early for him to be able to consider." Asked if it was a short-term injury for Rice, the Arsenal manager added, "I think so. I hope that when the swelling comes out he can function, and he will be fine. We miss Ricky Calafiore as well today." Post-match, it was put to Arteta as to whether Rice would be fit for the weekend's clash against Bournemouth. "Depends," the Spaniard replied. "That swelling has to come right down for him to have the chance to function. He wasn't available to do that today yet. He's improving, but let's see what it is in the next couple of days." Though Rice and Calafiore were out, Arsenal were bolstered against Villa by the returns of Timber and White, with Gabriel also fit enough to start for the first time following a thigh problem, and he scored on his return to the side. Kai Havertz also took his place on the bench for the first time since the opening day of the season against Manchester United, having now recovered from knee surgery. Ethan Nwaneri dropped out completely. Arsenal currently top the Premier League table with 19 games played, and lead Manchester City by 5 points. Pep Guardiola's side take on Sunderland on New Year's Day. Arsenal fans finally receive positive news after Declan Rice's late injury. Arsenal are in a really bad spot from a fitness standpoint right now, and no one is realising just how bad it is. Arsenal are missing a number of key defenders and midfielders at the moment, and if you look at the context of the season and the amount of games they are playing week in, week out, it makes everything feel that much worse. The most recent bit of bad news that Arsenal fans received was right before the game against Aston Villa, when it was revealed that Declan Rice will miss the game on Tuesday. Now, Arsenal already needed Rice in the lineup, but even more so this week due to the injuries that they have faced at right back. Ben White and Jurrien Timber were both either doubts or out due to injury, meaning Arsenal just did not have a single right back for the big game against Aston Villa at the time the news broke. There were people who were hoping for an unlikely appearance from Timber, thinking about whether he was just about fit enough to play 60 to 70 minutes on a big game and the one on Tuesday night. Arsenal fans finally receive positive news after Declan Rice's late injury. Well, it is safe to say that Arsenal fans have just received hopeful updates about a potential Timber sighting. According to Gunnerblog, Arsenal are hopeful that Timber will be fit enough to play against Aston Villa on Tuesday night, with Ben White also trying to make an unlikely comeback from his injury. This bit of news helps a lot. Even though Arsenal are missing their best player due to an injury, the saving grace is that their best right back might just be able to play against a fellow title contender like Aston Villa, who are in red-hot form. Arsenal need Timber services to stop players like Morgan Rogers from creating danger against Arsenal, and without Rice, the Gunners will hope that Timber is fit enough to do just that. It is a really unfortunate period for Arsenal, but luckily they have managed this injury crisis really well so far. They have still maintained their league and Champions League positions, and that is really difficult to do considering the sheer volume of players they have missed for the longest time. Gabriel potentially starting is obviously good news for all Arsenal fans, and they would now hope that Timber follows suit as well. Arsenal are likely to be without one of their best players as they take on Aston Villa in a crucial title clash this evening. The Athletic reported earlier today that Declan Rice is expected to miss the game, and he picked up a knee injury in Saturday's 2-1 win over Brighton. Despite being able to play on against the Seagulls, the midfielder is unlikely to have recovered enough to start against the Villains tonight, leaving his side with yet another devastating fitness blow. Rice is now another addition to Arsenal's growing injury list after both Jurriën Timber and Ricardo Calafiori missed the victory over Brighton. The Dutchman was unavailable, or he picked up a knock in the midweek Carabao Cup encounter with Crystal Palace, with his absence meaning Rice started the contest with the Seagulls at right back. Calafiori dropped out against Brighton at the last moment as he fell to a slight injury he suffered in training a day prior. Miles Lewis-Skelly was brought into the starting 11 to take the Italian's place at left back. The midfielder's new fitness issue will be another massive blow to Mikel Arteta and his Gunners side as they continue to tackle several injuries, while also trying to maintain their title charge with Manchester City and Villa hot on their tails. Rice's absence will be countered by the potential return of both Timber and Ben White. The Netherlands international is possibly ready to make his comeback, while White is also pushing to return, or a spell out, with a hamstring issue. While both right-back options could make their respective returns this evening, it is unlikely Arteta will be willing to rush either of them straight back into action, meaning there will still be a gap on the right side of defence. The Spaniard may have to get creative with his selection process, with Christian Odegaard the most likely option, to fill in with his experience and versatility standing out above many of his teammates. Even if Timber or White do take up the right-back spot, Arsenal will certainly have an even bigger task on their hands as they look to overcome a side that has caused their title challenges a few problems over the years, including in the last few weeks, without one of their best players at their disposal. Rice will definitely be missed tonight. The last few days of December have been somewhat kind for Arsenal. They have won their last 3 games, even though a couple of them were supposed to be very tough. They have also seen some of their most important players return from injury, which is great news. Gabriel returned from injury to play a few minutes against Brighton, while Gabriel Jesus played his first minutes in a year a few weeks prior. What's more is that there is another player, far more unexpected than Havertz, who could be selected for the squad against Aston Villa on Tuesday. According to the same source that broke Havertz's story on Monday, Ben White has a slight, outside chance of making the squad for the Villa game on Tuesday night. That is sensational news, as long as the player is not being rushed back from injury. I presume he won't be, given his track record with injuries in the last few years. Arsenal would be cautious with him, which is why he probably will not play much in this game, even if his name is included in the squad. Of course, if he is fully fit and there is no chance of aggravating the injury, then Declan Rice would probably become the happiest person in the squad. Rice played at right back in White and Jurriën Timber's absence against Brighton on the weekend, and he actually did a really good job. However, Arsenal clearly missed his presence in midfield, and it was clear on the day that this is only a one-time thing.